patrol officers on jet skis. That'll look dramatic, won't it? Very James Bond. But it won't work, will it? Let's talk to social commentator Steve Laws. Good evening, Steve.
Hello there, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Now, you live down in Folkestone, don't you? So this is very much home ground for you, the cross-channel migrants crisis. What do you feel about these constant statements by Priti Patel? You know, I've got this, I'm going to do this. As I was saying earlier, at one point she even came up with a scheme to get these vast boats with massive nets that they were going to dip into the channel and pluck the dinghies out of the sea. That didn't happen, funnily enough. The Navy were going to go in, and that didn't happen. They're going to change maritime law, tow the boats back to France. That hasn't happened and almost certainly will not happen. Now there's going to be a £200 million armada, she says, to patrol the channel, and Border Force officers on jet skis. Again, I'll believe it when I see it. This woman talks the talk but never walks the walk.
No, you're absolutely spot on. She's always coming up with these ridiculous ideas like wave machines or putting out armadas with 20 plus boats to stop them coming over. But the reality is, without giving the Border Force the actual powers to send them back, it's all just hot air and nonsense. You can spend as much money on a boat as you want. It doesn't really mean anything unless you're going to actually turn them back.
And I'm reliably informed, Steve, that Priti's much hyped Borders and Migration Bill, which is what the one she keeps mentioning, saying, once I get that passed, we'll really be tackling this situation. Well, I'm advised by experts who've read all 56 pages of it that it won't make any difference. We need two things. We need either to start towing them back to France, or, if we must accept them onto our shores, treat them like criminals who've broken our laws, arrest them, maybe stick them in court and then send them back.
I completely agree. The thing is, all the while that she's always saying that she's going to get tough and she's going to do this and she's going to do that, it doesn't really mean anything unless she's actually putting actions into it. It's always hot air and talk, and there's never any substance to what she's saying. She'll come up with these ideas and she'll bang the drum and she'll get a bit of PR responses from the media and all of this, and she'll have all the Conservative voters towing the line because she's getting tough and she says she's going to do this. But the problem is, she's been saying this for the last 2 years now, and the numbers have grown rapidly. Under a Conservative government, illegal immigration is higher than it's ever been before.
Yeah, and
this is a fact.
And we're getting serious record numbers. Was it last weekend or the one before? 1,000 in a single day. First time we got into
over 1,000 as well.
Yeah. The first time we got into four figures. So it is getting worse and worse and worse. And of course, the ultimate irony is once they make it to the beach, we treat them like welcome guests. You know, we put them into coaches, we take them to nice hotels, and by the way, they can just walk out. Then they're not detained or anything like that. Yeah. Many of them,
this is the problem.
They just walk out. So we are known as the softest touch in the world for illegal immigration, and she's got to do a lot more than talk about £200 million armadas. And by the way, 1 in 6 of our current migrants who are in this country have been turned down for applications to live elsewhere, but they're welcome here, of course.
This is the problem. The incentives are too good for these people to come. You have to remove the incentives and push back without restrictions, because the pushback plan she's got at the moment gives the Border Force no powers whatsoever, and it's only designed for boats that don't actually come over here. So the whole idea is just nonsense. The thing that needs to be done is to remove the benefits and the incentives to come over. These people are criminals that come over. That's one thing that needs to be made clear. They've entered the country illegally.
Detain them in a detention centre, not put them in a hotel where many of them just say, thanks very much, I'll take a cup of tea and an evening meal, and then I'll be off, thanks very much.
Absolutely. It's the same with when she's always like, I'm going to chase down the smugglers and I'm going to do this. There would be no smugglers if she stopped the route and she stops all of the incentives. There would be no reason for these people to come. If they knew they couldn't get across the channel, they wouldn't even bother trying, and there'd be no money to be made by these traffickers, and you wouldn't have to waste millions trying to hunt them down. Yeah. The whole solution is on our end. We can't blame anyone else but the government.
Now, I harbour no resentment to these people who come over here. They're just seeking a better life, and in that respect, purely good luck to them. But this constant need to to vilify the people smugglers who are evil, and we should get as many of them as we can. As far as I can work out, we haven't really got any yet. But yes, of course, they're criminals. But we've got to start saying that sympathy, though we have for these mostly young men who come across in these boats looking for a job, looking for a better life, they're breaking our laws too. The Crown Prosecution Service ruled only recently that, in fact, they are not breaking our immigration laws. In what way is coming across the channel, usually without documents, in an illegal vessel, a dinghy, and then trying to run across our beaches into our country, in what way is that not against our laws?
And the problem is, we have no idea who these people are. They could rock up on a beach and they can say, "Hi, my name's John," and we've just got to believe them. That's what's the state we're in at the moment. And the problem is, it's only going to escalate, because not one of these people that have came over on a dinghy has been deported. Not one.
I know, you're right. You're right.
That in itself is a massive incentive to come, because they know even if they're failed asylum seekers, they still get money, they still get a hotel, they still get to stay. So that even failing your asylum claims is irrelevant, because you can still stay.
Yeah, and remember, there are 87% of them are young males. So the idea that they're somehow political asylum seekers who are running away from terror and horror. And by the way, the last country they were in didn't have any war and torture. It's called France. Is ridiculous. Yeah. So they're economic migrants. There's no doubt about that. And as such, they have to be, well, they should be banned entry to this country, except, as you say, they're not, and they settle down very nicely. Also, Steve, you know, being from Folkestone, the people of your town, of your fine coastal town, you must see this every day from the cliffs there and everything, them barreling across the channel. It must infuriate you all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The whole reason I started covering this was just to prove to one of my friends that it didn't happen. That it did happen. I mean, that it was getting loaded onto coaches. He didn't believe me, so I uploaded a video and showed him. And from there, but it was something that local people have always known about. The numbers were far shorter. For instance, a dinghy would come once a month rather than every day, about 12 of them. The numbers have just grown rapidly, and it seems Patel is more complicit than anything else, because if she was going to stop this, she would stop it now. There's an 80-seat conservative majority, a conservative majority, may I add, that hasn't even so much as made a dent at stopping them. The numbers are growing rapidly, and it's completely out of control. They're coming up with ridiculous ideas like wave machines and getting armadas out into the sea. But the problem is, none of that's going to work, and she knows it's not going to work, so she's just lying to us.
Yeah, as I say, we have to criminalize the immigrants and not tell them that they're not breaking the law. As I say, you know, I'm not trying to knock them. I know what they're doing. They're just looking for a better life. You're right, some of them may be dangerous, but the vast majority of them, they just want a job, but they are coming here illegally, and a sovereign bordered country like Britain cannot accept that, and she's got to do something about it very, very quickly. I think for her own chances of keeping her job.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I'm shocked she's still in the role. If anyone else has failed at their job that much, they would be fired on the spot. It's bizarre that she's still allowed to carry on.
Yeah, it is.
And you could say that her hands are tied by international law and blah, 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 but they managed to write COVID legislation up just like that. They could do the same to protect our borders.
I totally agree with you, Steve, and my sympathy for having to put up with this down there in Folkestone, town I know quite well. Thanks very much for your time. Good to talk. Come on again. Come on again soon. Steve Law, social commentator from Folkestone there. Next up, Danielle Boxall from the Taxpayers Alliance on